All right, this lesson is called Angle Relationships. We have 5 pages of notes to get through. This is going to take some time. Feel free to pause it as you're going and then pick up when you're ready to go. Here we go. First thing, guys, we're going to talk about angles in the first block up here. An angle is formed by two rays with a common endpoint. So if you check us out the diagram, this is a ray right here, and this is a ray right here. Okay, the common endpoint where the two rays meet is right here. That's called the vertex. The rays, this guy right here and this guy right here, are called the sides. You name an angle using 3 letters. The middle letter must, underline the word must always represent the vertex. It says use a single letter if there is only one angle located at the vertex. So in this case, we could say this is angle B. When referring to the measure, use a lowercase m. So when you see the example, guys, here's how it's read. It's read as, this M stands for measure. Measure, this is your angle symbol. Measure of angle ABC is equal to 60 degrees. 3 types of angles that you guys are used to seeing. First one is called acute. This is less than 90 degrees. Middle guy is obtuse. He is greater than 90 degrees. And the last guy is a right angle. It's equal to 90 degrees. This little box in the angle, guys, represents a 90-degree angle. All right, so now we'll kind of get into how do you write down, label the angles, all that kind of good stuff. First example, A says, name the vertex of the angle. Well, that's the middle of the angle. The vertex in this case would be point K. Name the sides of the angle. Here's where it's important, guys. You have to start the vertex and work your way out to the arrow. So this side right here would be ray KL. So you put down the K first, L second, and the symbol for ray is a right arrow. The other side of the angle is KJ. K comes first, J second. Put your ray arrow above that. Letter C. Give 3 ways to name the angle. First way, just name it by its vertex, angle K. Now you got to use 3 letters when you name the other 2 ways, guys. And you remember, K has to be in the middle. So one way we could say angle JKL, angle sign JKL, and then just flip the order. The other guy would be angle LKJ. Classify the angle acute, obtuse, or right. Definitely angle bigger than 90. This guy is obtuse. Example 2. Name the vertex of angle 2. Okay, so I find angle 2. Angle 2 is right here. The vertex is T. Name the sides of angle 4. Find angle 4. It's right here. Here is one side. Here is the other side. Make sure you name the sides starting with T, the vertex, TW, and TZ. TW, ray arrow. TZ, very simple. Letter C, write another name for angle 3. So angle 3, we can't just say angle T, guys, because there's more angles attached to that vertex. So you have to use 3 letters and make sure T is in the middle. So here's angle 3. One way, I could say angle U, T, Z. You could have also said Z, T, U, just flip the order. Same thing. Letter D, write another name for angle 1. So here's angle 1. Make sure T is in the middle. You have 2 options. You can say angle YTX or angle XTY. Just make sure that T is in the middle. Letter E, name the sides of angle 5. Here's angle 5. Make sure you start in the middle, work your way out. One side is TY, the other side is Ray TW. TY, TW. For classifying, either it's acute, obtuse, or it's right. Angle YTW. YTW, right here. That box means 90, which means that is a right angle. G, classify angle YTU. YTU, so all of this, that's going to be obtuse, bigger than 90. Letter H, angle XTU. XTU, the small angle right here, definitely less than 90. That's going to be acute. Letter I, angle WTU. So all of this right here, bigger than 90, that's obtuse. This is a neat little chart for you guys to kind of reference the types of angles that we're going to be talking about throughout the entire semester. So what we'll do is we'll give you an example, a visual, to kind of help you relate the vocab word to the actual picture. All right. First one, adjacent angles. These are two angles that are next to each other and share a common side. So if I give you an example here, here's angle 1, here's angle 2. They're right next to each other and they share a common side right in the middle there. Adjacent means next to. Going up top, vertical angles. Two angles across from each other on intersecting lines. They are always congruent. Remember, congruent, here's your symbol for congruence. Remember, that means the same. All right, so vertical angles are caused by intersecting lines, and they are across from each other. So if I said 1 is here and 2 is there. Now, when we're dealing with angles, guys, if we put these arches in right here, that means these angles are congruent. So if I see these arches in any type of angles, I would know that they're going to be congruent. So in this case, angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Linear pair, two angles that are adjacent and supplementary, they form a straight line. All right, so straight line. They're adjacent, which means they're right next to each other, and they're on a straight line. These two angles that lie on a straight line will always add up to 180 degrees. I'll talk more about that once we get down to supplementary angles. So for linear pair, just remember, two angles on a straight line, and they're right next to each other. They're adjacent. All right. Supplementary. Two angles whose sum is 180. You have two ways you can do this one. We can do it just like we did for the linear pair. Angle 1 plus angle 2 is equal to 180. Or you can separate them. So if I said, let's say this guy is 100 degrees, and this angle is 80 degrees, these would be supplementary because they add up to 180. So this angle plus that angle adds up to 180, which makes it supplementary. Remember, just two angles that sum is 180. The other guy, complementary. Two angles that add up to 90. So two ways I can do this one. I can draw a right angle. Call that angle 1, call that angle 2. And once again, guys, these two angles add up to 90, which makes it complementary. Or you could separate them like I did for the supplementary. We'll call this guy 50 degrees. We'll call this one 40 degrees. But once again, they are supplementary because they add up to 90 degrees. So complementary adds up to 90. Supplementary adds up to 180. All right, time to practice, see what you know. So to identify types of angles, check all relationships between angles 1 and 2. All right. First, I noticed they're across from each other, so they're definitely vertical. They're not next to each other. I don't know any measurements. They're not on a straight line. So vertical is your only option for that guy. Number 2. Oh, for the diagram, if this side is 90, I know that this side has to be 90. So first, if they add up to 90 degrees, they have to be complementary. But I also notice they are right next to each other. Angle 1 is sharing this side with angle 2, so that also makes it adjacent. And that's it for that one. Number 3, I notice these angles are on a straight line. So first, that makes them a linear pair. If they're a linear pair, that automatically makes them supplementary because they have to add up to 180. They don't add up to 90. They're not across from each other, but hey, they are next to each other, so they are also adjacent as well. Number 4, the angles are right next to each other. That makes them adjacent. They're not across. I don't know their measurements, so I can't say anything about that. They're not on a straight line, so adjacent is the only one for that one. Number 5. All right, just to kind of recap, guys, these little arches mean congruent. So this angle right here is congruent to that angle right there, just to kind of recap. And I know this. These angles are formed by intersecting lines. So I know for a fact that they're going to be vertical. And this time I do know something about their measurements. If this angle is 90, this has to be 90 up here. Okay, stay with me. If these two angles are congruent and they're both add up to 90, if I cut that in half, each of these have to be 45 degrees, which makes this guy also 45 degrees because it's vertical from angle 1. Now, if I add these two up, this adds up to 90. So they are also complementary. That's a tricky one. Number 6, I notice they're across from each other, vertical. If that side is 90, I know that's 90. I know vertical angles are congruent. So if this guy is 90 degrees and this guy is 90, they also have to be supplementary. That is it for identifying the types of angles. All right, time to practice. All right, number 1 says find the missing measure in each figure. Keep angle relationships in mind. All right, I know these guys are vertical, so if that guy's 112, X also has to be 112. Number 2, I see the 90 right there, which means these two guys add up to 90 degrees. So if I take 90 minus the 68, what's left for X is 22 degrees. Number 3, these are on a straight line, which means they add up to 180. So to figure out X, take 180 minus the 124, and you're left with 56 degrees. Number 4, I'll take care of the vertical angles first. Y would have to be 43. And then I suggest you guys find kind of a straight edge or something straight. It's going to help you guys figure out these supplementary or linear pair angles. So if I cover up the rest of that, you've got a straight line right there, which means these two angles add up to 180. So if I take 180 minus the 43, I'm left with 137 degrees. These two are vertical, so Z would also have to be 137 degrees. Number 5, take care of the vertical angles first. I know Y has to be 72. I'll get out my straight edge so I can see that these two are a linear pair. I know they have to add up to 180. So if I take 180 minus the 72, I'm left with 108. All right, for Z, I know that this side is 90, so all of this side has to be 90 as well. To figure out Z, take 90 minus 72, and you're left with 18 degrees. All right, some vocab. You got to know the vocab words to figure out what they're asking you. It says D and E are vertical angles, which means they are going to be equal in measurement. If the measure of E is 105, find the measure of D. Well, they're vertical angles, and I know that they're the congruent. So if E is 105, angle D also has to be 105. You got to know the vocab there. 7, it says angle A, angle B are complementary, which means they add up to 90 degrees. If the measure A is 42, find the measure of B. We'll just subtract them. We know they add up to 90, so take 90 minus 42, and you're left with angle B to B, 48 degrees. Number 8, P and Q are supplementary, which means they add up to 180. If Q is 64, find the measure of angle P. Once again, just subtract like we did for complementary. Take 180 minus the 64. So angle P is going to be 116. J and K form a linear pair. Once again, we know a linear pair has to add up to 180 degrees. If the measure of J is 113, find the measure of K. Just subtract 180 minus 113. Angle K, 67 degrees. All right, here comes some algebra mixed in with the geometry. All right. If the measure of angle PQT, so let's find that first. PQT right here is 3x plus 47. Measure of SQR, this guy right here, is 6x minus 25. Find the measure of angle SQR. So once we figure out what x is, we got to plug it back in here and get the answer. You have to notice that these are vertical angles, and we know vertical angles are congruent. Set these guys equal to each other and solve. 3x plus 47 is 6x minus 25. Let's subtract 3x to the right. I'll add 25 to the left. That gives me 72. Divide both sides by 3. X comes out to be 24. It's not the answer. It wants the measure of angle SQR. Take that 24 and plug it back in. That angle comes out to be 119 degrees. That is your official answer. Number 11, another symbol for you guys. This little upside down T right here means perpendicular. And we'll talk more about this later on in the year. But all that means is that these two lines, line AB and CD, make a 90-degree angle. So perpendicular, it creates 90-degree angles. So if I just want to put in my 90 right here, now I can go to work. So this line right here is perpendicular to this line right here, and that creates a 90-degree angle. All right. I'm going to put a dot for the angles that we're talking about instead of plugging in the expressions to keep it a little bit cleaner and a little bit quicker for your notes. So first angle, measure of angle DCE. Right here, I'll put a dot there. And measure of angle ECB, this angle right here. Find the measure of angle DCE. Well, if this side's 90, then I know this entire side also is 90. Take this expression, add it with that one, equal it to 90 degrees. So take this guy plus that guy, equal it to 90. So combine your like terms, equal it to 90 degrees. 7x, 1x, 8x. 2 and 8 is 10, equals 90 degrees. Subtract the 10. 8x is 80. X comes out to be 10, which is not the answer. It wants angle DCE. Plug it back in. That comes out to be 72 degrees. Number 12. So once again, I'll put a dot where the angle's at, and then I'll figure out how to solve the measurement of angle KNM. All right, so the measure of angle KNM, this guy right here. The other angle is angle MNJ, right there. Okay, so what type are those angles? If I take a straight edge, I can figure out right away that, hey, That makes a linear pair or a supplementary, which means they add up to 180. So this angle plus that angle has to equal 180 because they are on a straight line. So once again, we're going to combine like terms and equal it to 180 this time. 8x, 4x, 12x. -5, -19, -24 equals 180. Add the 24 over. Divide both sides by 12. That comes out to be 17. But I need angle KNM. Plug it back in. If you type it in your calculator, that comes out to be 131 degrees. One more page. All right, 13. It's going to make us solve for two variables, guys, x and y. So we got a little bit of work here. All right. So if I check out the expressions, this guy has an x, that guy has an x, that guy has a y. I'm thinking let's work with these two first, and we'll try to figure out what y is in a second. So let's put a dot where these two angles are at. Let's figure out what type they are. So the first one is DEG, right there. The other guy is GEF. He's right there. Just like number 12, if you notice, hey, these make a linear pair. They're right next to each other. So just like 12, combined like terms in this case will equal to 180 because they are supplementary. All right, 5x, 7x, 12x, -4, -8, so -12 equals 180. Add the 12 over, that gives me 192. Divide both sides by 12, that gives me 16. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it back into both of these angles just so I can get a measurement of those angles. So when I do that, the top comes out to be GF is 104. And now they make this one over here come to a straight line. They have to 180. So I take 180 minus that. That gives me 76 degrees. Okay, let's figure out why now. Where is angle DEH? DEH is right here, right? Well, check this out. I know that these two angles are vertical. So if that is 104, this also has to be 104. So to solve for y, I'm going to set this stuff equal to 104. So 9y plus 5 equals 104. Subtract the 5 over. 9y is 99. Divide both sides by 9. Y comes out to be 11. That was a loaded question for sure. All right, the next four guys are checking for vocab. You got to know the vocab. This R and S are complementary, which means they add up to 90. If R is all this stuff, S is all this stuff, find the angle R. Well, if you didn't know that complementary meant 90, you wouldn't know what to do. So since you know that, take that expression plus that one, equal it to 90. 12x, 7x, 19x, -3, -2 is -5, equals 90. I'm going to add the 5 over. 19x is 95. Divide both sides by 19. X comes out to be 5. But I got to find angle R, so plug it back into angle R. That comes out to be 57 degrees. 15, it says P and Q are supplementary, which means that adds up to 180. P is equal to that. Q is equal to that. Once again, add this expression with that one and equal it to 180 because they are supplementary. 4x, 9x, 13x. 1 and -3 is -2 equals 180. Add the 2 over. Divide by 13. That comes out to be 14. But it wants angle Q. Take that 14. Plug it back into angle Q. 123 degrees. This is a C and D form a linear pair. If you go back and check your notes out, linear pairs add up to 180. All right, so here's what we have to do. We got to come up with an expression for angle D and an expression for angle C. It says this, angle D is 6 more than twice the measure of angle C. But the problem is I don't know what angle C is, so I'm just going to call it angle C x degrees. But now for D, it says it is 6 more than twice the measure of angle C. So I'm going to double this and then add 6 to it. 2x plus 6. Okay, I've got my expressions. I know that angle C and D form a linear pair. Take angle D, add it with angle C, and equal it to 180. 2x, 1x, 3x, just 6 equals 180. Subtract the 6 over. 3x is 174. Divide that by 3. Comes out to be 58 degrees. But once again, it wants you to find angle D. Take that 58, plug it back into angle D. That comes out to be 122 degrees. 17, J and K are complementary, which means they add up to 90. So once again, expression for angle J, expression for angle K, and then we'll add them up and equal it to 90 in this case. Okay. The measure of angle J is 18 less than the measure of angle K. I don't know measure of angle K. I'm going to call it X. But I know this. J is 18 less than the measure of angle K. Well, if I take K, which is X, and then subtract 18, that's your expression. Boom. Find the measure of both angles. Gotcha. Combine this with this, equal it to 90. 1x, 1x, 2x. You have a negative 18 equals 90. Add the 18 over. That gives me 108. Divide that by 2. X is 54, but it wants a measure of both angles. Plug it into both. Let's see, though. That guy is just 54 degrees. And if you plug that back in the other guy, J comes out to be 36 degrees. 3 more. Okay, kind of a sneaky vocab word, guys. It says if ray, UW, remember that's a ray because it has a right arrow on it, bisects. Whenever we bisect something, we cut it in half. So this ray right here, UW, is bisecting angle TUV. So angle TUV is right here. It's being cut in half. What that does is it creates two congruent angles because I cut this entire angle in half. All right, so let's figure out kind of what they're looking at here, and then we'll figure out what the value of x is. So where is this angle? Where is that angle? How do we solve for x? Once again, I'll use dots instead of writing the expressions in the angles themselves. Angle TUW, that guy right there. WUV, right here, find x. Well, I know that this angle is congruent to that angle, so I can set this expression equal to that one, and then I can solve for x. 13x minus 5 is 7x plus 31. I'll subtract 7x to the left. I'll add 5 to the right, so 6x is 36. X comes out to be 6. All right, number 19. Once again, we got some bisection going on here. So ray MO, right here, is bisecting angle PMN. So I know that this angle now is congruent to that angle because I cut it exactly in half. Let's figure out where the angles are at, and then we'll figure out how to solve for x. Angle PMN is all of that. So this whole thing is 74 degrees. OMN is right there. Well, check this out. I know that this angle is congruent to that angle. The whole thing is 74. So if I were to cut this in half, that would give the measurements of each of these. So if you do that, this guy comes out to be 37 degrees. That guy comes out to be 37 degrees. So what I can do is this. I can take the expression for this angle and equal it to 37 degrees. 2x plus 7 is 37. Subtract the 7 over, that gives me 30. Divide by 2, x is 15. Last one. Here's bisection once again, guys. Ray EF right here. He's cutting in half angle CEB. CEB. So now this angle is congruent to that angle. All right. What angles are we talking about? Angle CEF, the guy right there. Angle FEB, that one right there. Find the measure of angle DEB. And we'll get there in a second. But first, we got to figure out what X is. Once again, these two angles are congruent, so I can set this expression equal to that one. Then I'll solve for X, and I'll have to figure out how to solve for that angle in a minute. 7X plus 21 is 10X minus 3. Subtract the 7X over. Add the 3 over. Divide both sides by 3. X is equal to 8. However, I got to find angle DEB right here. Okay, a couple ways. First thing I would do is I would take this 8 and plug it back into both of those expressions. If you do that, this angle right here comes out to be 77. I know they're congruent. This guy also comes out to be 77 degrees. And here we go. All three of those angles lie on a straight line, which means all three of these angles have to add up to 180 degrees. So if I take 180 minus a 77 minus a 77, I'll get what's left for angle DEB, and that happens to be 26 degrees. That's it for angle relationships. Attack the homework. Have a good day.